it's something that has been rampant even in my days in secondary school about 30 years ago. Yeah, 30 years ago. I was in secondary school in the 90s. So this is an issue, but it does feel like it has gone haywire now. And so some have argued that maybe, just maybe, because JAMB results is, or JAMB examination is an examination that has to do with less of cheating as a result of the way it's now being done. Maybe that's the reason we're beginning to see loads and loads of failure in the examination. But maybe I would have to keep all my thoughts and rather questions to myself a bit, because I've got our guest joining us right now on the show. Dr. Peter Ogundoro is an education researcher, like I told you before, and he's the leader of the international award-winning Nigerian teachers community. A very good evening to you, sir. Welcome to the newsroom.
Yeah, good evening. It's my pleasure to join you.
Okay, so let me first of all start by asking you what your thoughts actually are, first off, after seeing the results released by JAMB last week and all the hue and cry, that has followed the release of the results.
Well, if you do my kind of job as an educational researcher who has comparative experience internationally, you will know that this is not supposed to be surprising to us as a country. The education industry is an industry in Nigeria that has been very much neglected for decades, and the politicians who run our country are yet to appreciate how important education is to national development. And as it concerns JAMB specifically, for many years now, JAMB has carried on as more or less a revenue earner, for the government, and we have been clapping hands for JAMB, for doing that. And a lot of times, when the students complain about the challenges they go through in the hands of JAMB as they write this exam, because they are, minors, their voices are generally not respected and given a serious consideration. But as we speak now, it has become obvious to us that a lot has gone wrong, and the people who think that students are the only ones who have to be blamed for what has happened are people who don't do research in the industry. A significant portion of the blame must go to the body that has conducted the exam, because we find ourselves in a situation where you'll find many candidates, we are not talking about 10 or 50 or 20, we're talking about thousands of candidates who wrote the JAMB mock test just about a month ago. And some of them, for example, you find a candidate who scored like 280, and then a month after he goes into the main exam, and JAMB is telling us such a candidate earned 140. And you find another candidate who scored like 270, and JAMB is telling you in the main exam he scored 106 something. And JAMB conducted both exams. So if you're an educationist, you know that people's performances do not decline that sharply. And so there must be something to be debated about the instrument JAMB is using to try to understand what children, know. That's one part of it. We have a problem with the validity of the test itself. We have a validity with the reliability of the instruments JAMB is using to conduct the exam. And having said that, we also recognize that indeed, yes, many of the candidates were not adequately prepared for the exam. And again, we are in a situation where most people who wrote this exam came from rural communities. The average Nigerian child who writes JAMB exam doesn't live in Lagos, Abuja, or Port Harcourt, where you have elites who are able to provide their children computers, who learn with computers for the entire 6 years they're in the school system. But over 80% of Nigerian children in secondary school do not have access to computers. And so they struggle without computers for 6 years, and at the point they have to approach the universities to secure admission to go and get higher education, you compel every one of them to use computer to reveal what they know. We know that is not how to be fair. That's not how to run an equitable system. That's not how to run a system that is just and a system that will work for everyone. So the idea of blaming the child for what has happened, I hear a lot about that. Children are distracted by social media. and those kinds of things. Yes, some of them are decided by social media, but we also know a lot of children, especially from elite homes, who have had computers right from kindergarten, who don't get distracted by it. They are taught how to use it, and as a matter of fact, they convert it to advantage. My own children are, for example, people you can refer to when you are talking about children who have used computer from kindergarten, who never got distracted by it, who used it as a resource tool to be able to achieve the purposes for which God has created them. So everywhere you turn, I think that a lot is wrong with our country. The body that has conducted the exam hasn't done very well. Many candidates reported glitches. Their computers failed many times.
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah, the computers failed many times. So, and then nobody seems to bother, to investigate into those complaints. And we are aware that JAMB doesn't own most of the CBT centers where these tests are conducted. They are owned by business people who want to maximize profit. And so and that is happening because we have not seen education as an investment that will help us to build a good country. We see education as a cost in this part of the world, which is very unfortunate for us. So these people who run the CBT centers, they don't make adequate provisions in terms of, having the right quantity of diesel, making sure the computers are serviced and all of them work well, and then making sure the generators that will power them when, public electricity fails, that all of those things are in place and ready to serve the children. So these children get into these places and they meet these challenges that compound the fact that most of them actually went through secondary schools where they never used computer to learn. And we now compel them to use computers to tell us what they know. That's hard to be unfair to minors who haven't got voice to make their own case themselves. That is hard to be unfair to parents who have invested a lot of money, time, and emotions working with their children for entire 6 years only to get to the point where these children are supposed to take the next step to build themselves and prepare for great careers. We're telling those parents that those children, because the public education system has failed, those children are not going to be able to pursue their visions. I think that we're doing the wrong thing as a country, and the politicians must wake up and address this matter. If you ask me the way forward, I would definitely say that JAM should find the humility to admit the areas where they have failed. It
feels like they've done that, Dr. Ogundoro. The news today is that JAMB wants to make a review of all of the issues since last week as a result of the complaints. So would you say that's the right step in the right direction?
Well, I think we should find the humility to just admit that this last exercise was a complete failure, because at the end of the day, what you find is that the parents who have the resources to be able to get their children's cases across to JAMB will probably be the ones whose children's cases will be addressed and who will find justice and fairness in the process. We think that JAMB should admit that this last exercise was a failure, cancel the entire exercise, and take a month or two to get their technology right, and then get all the children to rewrite the test at no cost to them or their parents. Nigeria can do this, we can afford it. JAMB has been declaring profit for many years. This is the time to use that profit to do the proper thing.
That's a huge call, if you ask me. Lagos, if you just joined us, this is 99.3 Nigeria Info, and the newsroom is, of course, the program, and we have Dr. Peter Ogundoro of the Nigerian teachers community giving his thoughts to us right here about the fallout from last week's conduct of tertiary examinations into tertiary institutions, otherwise known as JAMB. Well, let's now talk about the disparity in the cutoff marks that we usually have from different universities. I just a few hours ago, I was having a conversation with my colleagues in the newsroom, and I talked about the fact that I literally wrote JAMB and Poly JAMB for about 10 times because I wanted to go to some certain universities, and I was never getting cutoff marks for those universities. By the way, I have to put it out there that I never got below 225 in my jam. But every time I got 241, the cutoff mark in the school will be 250 or 260. And maybe when I get 252, the cutoff mark will be 260. By the way, there were some universities who were taking lower than that. So if I wanted, I could have possibly gotten the admission. What do you say about this disparity that is still an ongoing problem in Nigeria?
Well, globally, universities tend to have their different standards and the parameters they use to recruit students. So what you score to get into Harvard is not what you score to get into the average university in the U.S. So it depends on how competitive the university is and how competitive the courses are. But in the Nigerian circumstance, the major problem we have in our hands is the absence of good career management system within our schools. We haven't got counselors who are trained to be able to provide appropriate counsel to students so that they can make appropriate choices. Because some of the young people who are insisting on studying medicine probably don't even need to study medicine. They can actually study microbiology, and within about 8 years, they earn a PhD in it and do much better in life than the person who goes to university and spends 7 years to get only a first degree in medicine. And before you can qualify, as an expert in medicine to be able to earn good money, the kind of money somebody who has a PhD in microbiology can earn, it takes a pretty long time. So I think there is in this particular issue, the major challenge is the fact that a major resource that students should have access to in the school system is missing. Most of the counselors in the school system don't have skills to manage children's careers for them. And that's even in places where you have counselors at all. But most of our children are studying in schools without counselors, and so they are groping in the dark. The only courses they know are medicine, pharmacy, accountancy, business administration, and engineering, including its various branches of chemical engineering, mechanical, electrical, and now everybody's talking about computer science. But we have 1,001 other courses that can, many of these children have gifts for, which they can move into and excel in life. But nobody ever points them in those directions, because the people who should point them in those directions are not in the school system. And even where the counselors are in the school system, they haven't got the right training and the right motivation to do this job properly. So that's basically what accounts for that. Yeah.
All right. I guess we would have to leave this conversation here. But I want to say a very big thank you to you, Dr. Peter Ogundoro, for finding out time to join us right here on the newsroom on Nigeria Info. Excellent. Enjoy the rest of the evening. All right, Lagos. That was, of course, an education researcher and leader of the international award-winning Nigerian teachers community. Almost every time we have him on the show, he gives great insights, as to issues and how to go about solving them. And I must say the complaints, from friends, from colleagues, from online chatter over the last 7 or 8 days, as it concerns this JAMB result, it's something that almost really touches everybody. If it don't touch you today, there's a possibility it might touch you tomorrow. And according to Dr. Peter, he says, JAMB should eat the humble pie, and in his thoughts, cancel the results and redo another one. But Lagos, it will be great to hear your thoughts, to be great to hear what you have to say. Are you a parent, and your child or your whoever it is you're taking care of, was part of this last JAMB exercise? First things first, in fact, we didn't even get to talk about the other part because Dr. Peter had to, leave because he has another appointment by 6:30, so I had to let him go. There was the whole conversation about 6:30 p.m., 6:30 a.m., or was it 6 a.m.? 6:30 a.m. Call time, where students had to be there to start their accreditation process, which made quite a number of people leave their homes quite early, and there have been disturbing reports of people missing and all of that as a result of having to leave their homes and travel some distances. There's also the conversation about people who are unable to wrap up their conversation, but their accreditation, but the exams have started, and because it's computer based, well, there's no extra time for you, so to speak. Lagos, I would love to hear what you have to say. 0201 277 0993. That's the one number with which you can reach us. The other one, 0201 465 7190. You can also tweet at us at Nigeria Info FM, at Nigeria Info FM. You can tweet at us or send us a message on WhatsApp. It will be great to actually read your thoughts from right there. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, I listened carefully to Dr. Gundoro, and he made a very valid point. All I need to say now is that for me, I will advise JAM to cancel that result, because I've also heard from a lot of people in our days we never had this kind of experience. Like you said, most families does not even have access to computer. I'm not talking about telling their children to go and do computer-based tests. Even the JAM registrar himself, Professor Oluyode, even if you ask him to go and write under this harsh condition, he may likely fail, even though he's a professor.
That's a huge take,
I'm telling you the fact. If you ask that to Ishaq Oluyode, the way he was taught those days and the way they're teaching them now, I still believe that the children of nowadays are doing very well. I know how my children did, and I know how some of them are still doing. Some of the things we think they don't know, they know it. But all I say is that let this present JAM registrar change the system and the strategy. What if even during the process of the registration, it's a war on its own? Some people will leave their home by 5 a.m. They may end up not even registering, not talk about coming to write the exam. That CBT should be completely cancelled.
I thought registration was you could do that anywhere.
Registration is something that they will ask you to go and buy something from the bank. When you will see queue all over all the JAM offices. They have few offices, like a place like Lagos. They have few offices. When you get there, at times when I'm driving through, I see these children hanging all over the place. They will use security men at the gates. They won't have access to go in. That is it's a no-no to me.
Okay.
If I have my way, they should go back to the pen and writing shading system. Get good security if they want to avoid anything called malpractice. Get their own security. Train them. Spend more money on their security too. I don't advocate for anything called cheating.
Okay, would have to leave it at that so that we can take other calls. But thank you very much for your thoughts.
1 minute. There's a looming issue now, because I heard that the minister is saying that WAEC also be on this CBT. That would be a total calamity to this country.
All right. Thank you for your thoughts. We would have to let it go for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see if we can get more thoughts on the show. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Oh dear, Nena's village people have actually come. Amiye Baridor on Twitter says exam results should be transmitted immediately after submission or expired timing. I don't know if I don't know if it's a question of transmission of results, that is the problem, but the whole issues, that happens before the exams itself starts. Oh dear. Cancel that one. All right, apologies, having a bit of tech issues. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
My name is Kome, calling from Lagos Air Force Base.
Welcome, Kome.
Thank you very much. Just a quick one. This JAM stuff got my daughter so depressed, and she's also writing WAEC. I had to calm her down and say, go and write. She wrote the first mock exam, and she came home and told me that she didn't do well. And I asked, how bad is it? And she said she scored 230. And I said, well, it's bad for me, but it's still good. Go again and write the exam. The third time she came back, she said she got 250 mock exam. And when she writes the final exam, the actual exam, she came home, she was smiling and told me that my cutoff mark for her, which I said 250 is a failure for me, that she should do better. And she said that this one was a pass-through for her, that the exam was so simple, that 1 hour, 30 minutes she was done. I said, did you submit? She said, yes. She said, no. I said, thank God. What did you do after you finished within 1 hour, 30 minutes? She said she went through the whole paper again, cross-checked for 3 times before submitting that. So she's sure that she's getting nothing less than 250. I was happy for her. And the result came. She called me. She's in the hostel, and she called me. I said, check my result. And I said, you failed. You just tricked me with those stories. That she was crying that, no, that's not her result. She ended the call. I called back again. I said, this is 158. And I gave her the breakdown. She was saying that the least she was expecting is literature and English, and that is what she even had the highest score on it. And so she's still crying till I said, calm down. She came back for the weekend. I said, go and focus on YH. JAM is gone. We'll write next year again. And she studied so hard. Her school had called me previously before that she is the best student, that they're expecting YH and JAM to be excellent from her. And so she's seeing that result and she crying. I didn't know how to express as a mother, but I just told her that the past is the past. This is the future. Move forward with YH. Give me a good grade so that we can tell other people that it was JAM that misbehaved and not you. So hearing other people's conversation later this weekend and this week, and I started saying, okay.
Maybe it's a pattern.
Yes, it's a pattern. So JAM should do better. I don't know how they can help them to, I don't know, but they should just do better. That is my own thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kome. The good news, again, like I did say, is the fact that JAM itself, has at least admitted that there's probably something wrong somewhere, and investigations are currently ongoing. So maybe we'll just have to take a chill pill, Sometimes it can also be that we think we've done well, and then the results come out and it's not as great as we think we've done. But if it's for isolated cases, I can understand. But a scenario where it feels like almost everybody is having that kind of issue, then maybe truly something is wrong somewhere. Okay, I'll take a comment on Twitter. Damilare says, I feel the writing of JAM should only be for those whose centers had technical difficulties. Cancelling the whole exam is unjust, and those who can't operate the computer are not just hearing of CBT, and that is what the mock exam is for, getting to know how the exam will go. Okay, Damilare, you probably have a point there. Okay, let's see. I think I have a message on WhatsApp. Good evening, Nigeria Info. I'm a Dekpoju. I'm not coming after any caller at all, but I just want to correct that we should stop saying we should go back to old practices when the whole world is evolving. Parents should prepare their children very well and follow up on how they are doing. My son got 268 against all odds, and I want to believe some other students still did better than him. But JAM should still look into some areas and make life easy for the next generation. Mr. Adekpoju, is it Mr. Adekpoju? Thank you very much for your thoughts. Good. My English fails me now. Good thoughts right there. Okay, this will be my cue to, of course, move on to the next segment on the show. The Lagos Newsroom, we call it, and it's brought to you courtesy of the Lagos State Government. Well, Lagos, if you still want to give your thoughts and your reactions as it concerns the conversation we just had about JAM, but please go ahead, send us that message on WhatsApp. And of course, Twitter at also Nigeria Info FM. But quickly, let me let you know that on today's edition of the Newsroom Lagos, as it concerns bringing you things you need to know about Lagos, either as a resident or an indigene, the state has recorded a significant 45% increase in its internally generated revenue. That's huge. The state actually hit a landmark of 1.3 trillion naira in 2024, and that's an increase of it had an increase, considering the fact that in 2023, what the state generated internally was 895 billion naira. Give or take, that's almost that's just over 400 million increase. Well, not only that, the state collected 14 billion naira in land use charge, achieving a 37% increase in property tax revenue if you compare it to the previous year of 2023. Now, all of these stats are giving is for 2024, by the way. Commissioner for Finance, Abayomi Oluyomi, gave all of these statistics during ministerial briefing today, Monday, in Ikeja. In another notable highlight, the commissioner lauded the state's migration from electronic public sector payroll and human resource management system to the Lagos Revenue Portal. He also asked that a major contributor to the revenue increase was the land use tax, through which the state raked in about 1.7 billion naira. Well, enough of me talking. Let us get to hear from the commissioner. Let's get to hear from the commissioner as he gives his thoughts about all of these statistics.
Projects were funded as at when due. We also conducted monthly financial reviews across all MDAs and parastatals to strengthen fiscal control. Let me tell you this. The Accountant General is the principal of all the accountants in Lagos State Civil Service. So you agree with me that for all the accountants of all the MDAs in Lagos State to work well, you will need to coordinate them well. You will need to also make sure that they are abreast of all the financial laws, all the financial regulations in the state. Let me also say this. This may sound simple, but if you have worked across different sectors, you will know it's not simple. Let me say here that the 2024 account has been concluded and submitted to the office of the auditor, which means the deadline was met as at when due in a transparent manner. Also, we migrated from EBS RCL to the Lagos Revenue Portal, streaming revenue operations and improving fiscal. Let me tell you something about revenue portal. Like I said, during your question and answer time, the special advisor was so well on that. Lagos Revenue Portal is like a witch. What does he do? You cannot hide anywhere. Lagos Revenue Portal will fish you out. Lagos Revenue Portal is professional, it is efficient. Whatever, when you pay your fees, your receipts are generated, and if you don't pay, we will know that you have done it. In short, let me tell you, Lagos Revenue Portal is the ABC of efficiency in collection. Thank you. Now, let's go to revenue that was generated during the year. During the year, 1.3 trillion internally generated revenue in 2024 was made. This was a 8% increase from 895 billion in 20. I think it deserves a round of applause. Imagine, we said we are going to generate, in fact, over 45 increase when you compare to the corresponding year. Even over the budget, it was over the budget. One of the major heads, or revenue head, of Ministry of Finance, and I'm going to dwell on this much later, is land use charge. I remember I mentioned some of the problems with some of these headwinds that took disposable income away from the pockets of people. So even at that, the land use charge, which is called property tax in other countries, also we were able to collect about 40 billion from that, which was also an increase.
That was, of course, Lagos State Commissioner for Finance, Abayomi Oluyomi, giving his thoughts right there as it concerns generation of revenue. Apologies for that noise, dragging my microphone. Apologies. But of course, good initiative. By the way, the Lagos State Commissioner also says that the state is looking at an ambitious financial strategy for the second half of 2025. You do know that Lagos is the economic nerve center of the country, and according to the commissioner, it is also set to become the first subnational in the country to issue a green bond, and that's a financial instrument designed to fund environmentally sustainable projects. Now, some of these projects to be financed through the green bond include the Etiosa Lekki Expressway. About time, I would say. About time. The Ekpe International Airport, also I would say about time. Lagos is due to have 2 airports, so people can at least choose wherever it is they want to land. If you are in and around the Ikeja axis, you can as well book your flights to land that way. And if you're in and around the island, you can as well decide to land this way and not go through that hassle, of having to move all the way from places like Ekpe. If you have a 6 o'clock flight, you start leaving your home from 3 a.m. just because you have a flight, you have to catch. The other projects that the commissioner mentioned, like I did say earlier, is the Ekpe International Airport. The commissioner also disclosed that Lagos had experienced a surge in investor confidence, and that's good news. He says the investment figure is growing from $21 billion to $35 billion in recent years. Well, let's take a listen once again to the commissioner as he gives more thoughts about this.
One of the things that is also happening now is that we have commenced the issuance of a green bond. And what is a green bond? A green bond is a sustainable bond. A sustainable bond. And let me also say that Lagos State is the first subnational in Nigeria to issue a green bond. We are going to the market in the next 1 month. We oversaw the increase in listed state investments. Our state investment has moved from 21 billion to 35 billion. We are also going to the market to raise a conventional bond of 200 billion. And all the things that need to be done are on scene at the time, and they're all being done. Some of these are some of the projects that were being financed or funded by the Green Bond. We have the Etiosa Lekki Expressway, we have the Ogun Creek, we have the complex, we have regional roads in Ogun, several. We have Ekpe International Airport, which we believe is coming on street very soon. We have a 4 mainland bridge, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this table showcases Lagos State government credit rating right from 2020 to 2025. Now, here I have combined both the PPA and Office of Valuation. Lagos State Public Procurement Agency monitored and inspected 75 ongoing and completed capital projects. You heard when I said that we manage both revenue and expenditure. So part of this is to manage the expenditure. Also, e-government procurement portal has onboarded several ministries. We have digitized registration of service providers, have issued over 4,000 procurement award letters, collaborated with World Bank and global stakeholders, of course collaborated with rule of law and anti-corruption agencies, and also the World Bank team came to the Ministry of Finance, CPA office in particular, to work with them in assessment of e-governance, procurement, and so on. Now, one area that everybody has called Governor Babajide Olusegun very, very highly. Even though we call it Mr. Infrastructure, but as far as the welfare of the people are concerned, Governor Babajide Olusegun has been excellent.
Commissioner for Finance in Lagos State, Abayomi Oluyomi, giving his thoughts right there. Actually, that interview was today. Ministerial press briefing that has been ongoing for weeks, by the way. The different commissioners and ministries, giving their stewardship. Apologies, I was not supposed to play his voice again. Giving their stewardship of what has actually happened over the course of the last 1 year. Remember that today is the 12th, and of course, it's going in a matter of weeks, 2 weeks precisely from now. It'll be, is it 2 years? Yes, the 2 years anniversary of government, continuation in Lagos State. Is actually continuation. In fact, it's going to be sixth year anniversary of His Excellency Babajide Sanwo-Olu as governor of Lagos State. And every year at about this time, what has happened is, of course, this continuous press briefing by the different ministries to highlight the activities of the ministries, what has done, what needs to be done, and of course it is our responsibility to bring all of that information to you right here on the Lagos Newsroom, brought to you courtesy of the Lagos State government. Let me quickly go back to a message I have here from the conversation about JAMB that we had earlier, the first half of the show. Jaye from Otta says the mass failure is a tactics for JAMB to generate more funds. JAMB intends to fail more pupils, knowing that same students will come next year to write the exam with an increased application form fee. It's all a plot. Okay. Jai, I don't necessarily agree with you that it is a plot, even though I kind of understand your frustrations. Godwin from Lakwe says, God bless Nigeria Info for always being at the best. Your guest really spoke my mind. Those who seem to know anything but being made Minister of Education are killing the morals of our children and future leaders. Okay, you're not particularly happy with the trends. All right, Lagos, that's the much we have for you on the show today. Thanks to my producer, Precious Nena Okon, who has done an amazing job. We'll be back again next week, Monday, for another edition of the Newsroom. My name is Ufuoma Egbamuno. Have a blessed week ahead.
.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.